Okay, now we are recording. So I have to do all these things, and so if you want to interact with me, it helps me, you know. So in that case, if you have a silent, a quiet background, keep your mics on so that you can just say "Alindo" or "Excuse me" or anything, and then it helps me, you know, to just not to feel like I'm a robot talking to myself here. Oh, true.
Okay, so I just
The second verse, we got the we got the text introducing us the basic notions about karma when it says that it's by the grace of the self that life's highest blessing is gained. Yeah? And then we looked into those blessings. A human being endowed with a burning desire for freedom and a relationship with a qualified teacher. Yeah? The status of a human being endowed with a burning desire for freedom and a relationship with a qualified teacher. So it says by the grace, which begins introducing us the subject of karma. So we covered this verse, and Lynn and Ruth, did you get my email with the videos? So if you had the chance to. So we looked into this second verse, except for a few paragraphs that I want to still cover here. We say that good karma or good dharmic actions produce good karma. So we have a clear understanding of what a good action is and what a bad action is, because we all have this sense of what is right and wrong, which is dharmic and what is adharmic, what is conducive to the overall well-being of other people and the environment, and what is damaging to other people and the environment. So we all have this sense. So we know what good action is, and we have a certain understanding of what are the results connect to actions. You know? So those actions, they may take they may take the shape of results either on the material as in the spiritual side. Okay, so we are all the spiritual people here, but we don't neglect our material needs either. So we like to do actions provide us with whatsoever material things we need. But our main purpose, our main goal is our spiritual elevation, as we know. So therefore, we have in mind that my actions, they should provide me with everything I need on the physical level, material level, but most importantly, it should provide me with spiritual growth, spiritual elevation. So these actions that produce spiritual elevation, we call punya karmas, or karmas which are conducive to spiritual growth, because produce good results. So the most important result derived from those spiritual actions is a mind, a contemplative mind, a purified mind, a refined mind, and so on. Okay, I was muting Anutosh. Usually he has a lot of noise in his place. So those are the karmas that are conducive to what we call the true source of happiness. So are the karmas that refine my mind, purify my heart, so that I can live a life from the standpoint of satisfaction rather than running to gain satisfaction from people, things, events, and circumstances. So those are spiritual punyas. We may understand the futility of material punya karma and we develop a desire for freedom from ignorance. The desire for freedom from ignorance, in other words, the desire for knowledge, is the desire for the highest form of punya karma there is. So we are mature people. We have understood that the highest form of spiritual punya, it comes, wrapped up as knowledge. It comes in the package as knowledge. So we want the knowledge, and this knowledge, of course, it's the knowledge in reference to our true nature as puna, fullness, completion, limitlessness. So if we receive this knowledge, so this scriptural knowledge, this Vedantic knowledge, if we receive this knowledge, then we may also come under the instruction, and if we also come under the instruction of a teacher, a competent teacher, honest teacher, to explain the meaning of those sayings of the Upanishads, in which case our freedom is assured, okay? So if we have this punya karma, if we have the karma, it's so clear, this punya, this value for punya is so refined that it comes with this clarity of purpose that my punya is all about knowledge, and I'm associated with the scriptural knowledge, and not only that, enough punya karma that to bring me association. I don't know why my computer have been doing that lately. It's my antivirus keeps coming up when we are doing this. So we are talking here that the ultimate punya is this spiritual inclination for knowledge rather than just experience from the standpoint of spirituality, and association with competent, honest Vedanta teacher. In this case, so we could rest assured that our self-knowledge is just a question of few days or few weeks. Discovering a competent teacher, however, is not always a straightforward progress. Anatosh, I'm sorry, but I need to mute you, okay? Anatosh?
I'm sorry, I thought it was mute. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm going to mute you, and it's better we keep it.
Yeah, please.
There is a
do,
lot
yeah.
of, okay, I'm mute you again. Okay. So discovering Vedanta, discovering the pure knowledge coming from Ishvara as these revealed statements, declarations of the Upanishads, plus coming in contact with a competent teacher is an indication of great punya karma. So that's what we want to say here, okay? But it's not always easy to get in contact with the scripture and with a proper, competent, straightforward teacher. It's not like that. A lot of the time it goes in zigzags. We can make some wrong turns, as we say. And there are many people that they are so confused, but they're inclined to believe that they have the knowledge and they want to go and help other people, and they want to free other people, they want to save other people, and so on. They want to open oceans. A lot of the time people do that with the best possible intentions. They are good people doing things with good intentions, sometimes not as good intention. Sometimes a lot of self-centeredness involved in those Rajasic spiritual teachers, But the bottom line here is that it's not always easy, and all of us have gone through different teachers. We know that somehow by now we are mature enough to understand karma and the laws, this main law, the law of karma, and we know that we all get what we deserve. And whatsoever teachers we got in the past, it was what was perfect for us at the time. So in that case, we may get deceived, exploited, or simply misled. But that is also the unfoldment of our own karma. That's important understanding, because we need to get over any sense of victimization in regards to the past and associations we did with different teachers and so on. Okay. Remember, the law of karma determines the circumstances of our lives, which include whether we'll come under the instruction of a competent teacher or not. It depends on our punya karma, spiritual punya karma. In this connection, some people talk about grace, and even in Vedanta, the acquisition of a competent teacher is often attributed to Ishvara's good grace. So this notion of grace that is linked to this notion, to this law of karma, needs to be understood, because as Ramji often likes to put it, so grace needs to be earned. Grace needs to be deserved. Huh? So we need to do our prayers, present to Ishvara our prayers, but there is no better prayer than a proper action on a timely manner in harmony with my goal. And if my goal is self-knowledge and moksha, my actions have to reflect my clarity of intention, my purpose. So that's my goal. My actions have to be aligned with my goals. Therefore, grace is a natural byproduct. Okay? So when we say that, grace is when it's really time, so Ishvara is going to deliver you your final understanding, so to speak. So when we say that, we mean to say when it's really time, it means to say when not only your thoughts, your actions, have been purified by the power of Karma Yoga, among other yogas, but your purity of intent, your motives, and so on. So when the motive, the intents are pure, and then it's the time, and in that process of refinement of intent, so in that process of purification of intent, so we are building what we could call the grace of my release from samsara, gradually. So grace is always in connection to not only our actions, but the attitudes, the intent behind those actions, because a lot of the time we can provide the field with good actions, but we need to understand that the intent, the attitude behind the actions is often more important. It's more determining for the fructification of our actions. Any doubt about that? Any question? Okay. The Western mind tends to interpret grace as favorable circumstance bestowed on individuals according to the often mysterious will of Ishvara. Ishvara, however, is no personified God. Ishvara is a single term that encompasses the vast and complex law of karma. So Ishvara is more than the law of karma. So as we know, Ishvara has different facets to itself. It is the intelligence cause of the universe. It is the energetic cause of the creation as well. It's the material cause of the creation. It is all the laws and rules, the order, the intelligent order that sustains and maintains, recycles this universe. So there are incredible order and intelligence, knowledge to uphold this manifestation. Ishvara is also that. So those invisible laws, it's Ishvara. And among those invisible laws, we have the laws of karma, which relates to us human jivas more than anything else. In fact, karma is a law that operates only in relationship to us human jivas. All the other creatures, they don't have any problem with ethics. They don't have any karmic conflicts because they just act according to their fundamental apparent nature as a creature, as a jiva. They are all jivas, no? But they are just responding to the environment without any sense of inadequacy, any sense of guilt, of regret. There is none of this psychological complexities with the other jivas. So therefore, the karma, the law of karma applies only to the human jivas. So we are the intelligent jivas, the jivas with the power to determine, discriminate, and choose now what we call our free will. So this law of karma is the most important as far as we are concerned. Why? Because if we act up in harmony with the cosmic laws of the universe, of Ishvara, if we are in harmony with everything else, with every other creature, with the environment, with nature and everything, so we have peace of mind. Peace of mind is a natural byproduct when I just I align myself, I harmonize my life, my thoughts and so on, with these natural cosmic laws. But when I begin violating them, and we have to keep in mind that we are the only creatures violating the natural laws of the Lord. Why? Because of our intelligence. Intelligence has a huge downside. It has a huge price tag, so to speak, because with this intelligence, we start discriminating and choosing. And unfortunately, we are not properly educated on Dharma, and we tend to choose according to my likes and dislikes, what I want, what I don't want, what I want to gain, what I want to avoid. And when my discrimination is consumed by my ragas and diversions, my likes and dislikes is consuming all my discrimination. And then, of course, I will be tempted to violate this sense of justice, this sense of what's right and wrong. Why? Because my desire for something, desire to gain something or avoid something is so huge that somehow compels me to violate Dharma. So this Dharma, this law of karma needs to be understood properly, because it's not something that is going to be given to me without my participation, without my involvement. It requires a certain response on a moment-to-moment base from myself to the field, to the Dharma field, to the field of action, the field of interaction. I have to act in certain way, align myself with this common sense called Dharma. I will never do something to others that I don't want to be done to myself. So when we act in harmony with Ishvara, and then we develop this huge punya karma, which is a mind resolved by the means of following Dharma. There are two ways. There are three ways we can resolve our minds. We can resolve our mind by yoga, by samadhi yoga, or other kinds of upasana yogas. We can do actions, verbal actions, repetitions of mantras, or some sorts of meditations and so on, that can resolve the mind. The mind becomes quiet, sattvic. Okay? But we can resolve the mind in spite of actions. What it means to say? It means to say that I don't need to quit actions. I don't need to abandon my career, my job, my profession, and start meditating 6-8 hours a day. No, I just I understand what is karma, what is dharma, how the whole system works here in Mitya, and I just align myself with these natural dharmic laws of the universe. And by harmonizing myself with Dharma, I start living in harmony with other beings, and my mind start become calm and start getting spiritual punya, karma. Yeah? And my mind is resolved by the means of following Dharma. The other way we can resolve the mind as well is by the means of self-knowledge, but usually in order to resolve the mind by the means of self-knowledge, we need to do a good share of work by following Dharma, by becoming a karma yogi, understand what is Dharma, and developing that attitude, based on Dharma and this the devotional, contributing attitude towards the field, seeing the field, seeing the other creatures, the field as Ishvara, receiving the results, with gratitude in any case. Because we were talking here about the Western mind, they tend to believe that grace is punya, grace are just the results which are in harmony with my likes and dislikes. No? But once we become a karma yogi, we understand the system, and then we not only we start adjusting, align ourselves to Dharma, but we keep receiving whatsoever karma which comes with adversities, difficult karmas, crises of lives, and so on. So any kind of negative karma, I see them as positive karma. Why? Because I know that it's just my karma, and if I take it as a gift, because why I take it as a gift? Because there is always some upside to suffering. And the most important upside is that it allows us to correct ourselves. Yeah, we can look at, there is something here that I'm not thinking really straight. I'm not thinking in harmony with these natural laws. I'm not acting out properly as well. Therefore, I'm getting bad karma, papa karma. And how do I know I'm getting papa karma? I'm all the time disturbed, irritated, and angry, and this and that. So there is something. Then I have to think, there is a lot of things come my way that are not pleasant. So adversity gives us the opportunity to see, where we need to adjust, correct our thinking process, our actions, our words, and so on. So this is all grace. Grace is not only punya karma, but papa karma is grace because it brings with it the possibility of correction, adjustment, and growth. Because if we receive only punya, sometimes we get too much punya, and then when we see, we start becoming tamasik, and then our karma is going to present us with different kind of results, which is going to be more to the tamasic side, because I became tamasic, because now I'm not really as vigilant as before. I'm not doing my work, so vigilantly or attentively. So Ishvara is not a big guy up there who is going to be taking personal takes on, depending on whether we are beautiful or we are nice or anything, if they like our face or because we come from a high society. No, Ishvara does not care for any of that. It's a total impersonal system. It's organic. We cannot, so difficult to put Ishvara in words, but it's a living being made out of pure knowledge, pure intelligence, so that it can project, sustain, and maintain, and rule, and govern, and recycle everything as well, So it's just pure knowledge. We get exactly what we deserve. This is very important. And everything we get, we better look, because there is always something we can learn about it, you know. If we live an ordered life devoted to spiritual knowledge, this is an indication that Ishvara will see to it that we receive a competent teacher at the appropriate time. We all get exactly what we deserve. Okay, let's go into the verse number 3. We changed a little bit the subject. It's a very nice verse. It says, a person endowed with the proper qualities. Now we talk about spiritual qualifications here. So this is Vivekachudamani. It's a text that does not go into karma, dharma much. So here and there we can take a little diversions, because we cannot avoid talking about karma and dharma ever, you know. But overall, this is a text that it was written for those people whose minds are already purified by karma yoga. You know, the qualifications are already somehow in place. A person endowed with the proper qualities, qualifications, a person who understands the Vedas, who holds on to the unreal and does not strive for freedom, indeed commits spiritual suicide. So this is a very interesting notion that presents someone who has a good karma going for him or her. I have a good karma, I have a good momentum in my karma, so I'm a spiritual being, and I'm growing, I'm evolving, and I have my qualifications developed to a certain extent, okay? But somehow, due to something here, that this verse is bringing us to another notion. Before, the other verse was introducing us with the notion of cause and effect, karma. No? There's no such a thing as a free ride, so we always get to the extent of what we gave into. No? Now it brings into the text the notion of free will, because a person who is endowed with these qualifications coming from the Vedas, but still insists to hold on to the unreal, to hold on to one's ignorance, you know, and quits or gives up striving for freedom. Indeed, this is the definition of someone who commits a spiritual suicide. So the purpose of all of our text is to somehow prove to us the meaning behind those statements or declarations of the Upanishads. And one of the most famous, most popular, most delightful of these declarations is Tattvamasi, meaning to say, you are that. So the purpose of all Vedantic work is to resolve all this apparent contradiction between, you, the jiva, who appears to be limited by all means. We are limited by time, space, what we can know, what we can do. So there is this apparent contradiction. How can I, the jiva, be that? The totality, the limitlessness of everything, how the jiva can be Brahman, how Jivatma can be Paramatma. So the whole purpose of Vedantic work is to resolve all these apparent contradictions, such as you are that. You, as we understand, goes to the individual jiva, and that goes to the self, Brahman. Which in this verse often is present as the totality. and we need to look into that. So how can the jiva be the totality? If the totality is something apparently made up of at least the totality in this planet, there are more than 7 billion human jivas. So how can one jiva be the totality? How can the one jiva be the totality of all creatures in the universe? You know? So there is a contradiction. This contradiction needs to be resolved, and that is the purpose of our work, because this resolution has to be really true and clearly understood, so that it remains like a doubtless understanding, a doubtless certainty. Now I understand, I am that. So we have to go following the logic. So this is the purpose of this verse, and we are underway as this verse unfolds. We are now concerned with the identity of the individual and the options he has. So now we have someone in the verse 3 that has a lot of qualifications, good karma, and a spiritual person, but yet he has some options, meaning to say he still can opt out. So the verse is giving us a picture of someone who still has the freedom, that's the power of free will, has still the power to say, okay, all right, I have come this far, but I will pass now. I have come far enough, but it's enough for me. So I'm gonna go back to my attachments and my little life and my little satisfactions and so on. So and this is an option. So we are now concerned with the identity of the you, the jiva, because we know the self is not an experiencing entity, it's limitless, but it's not an entity with any option. The only option of the self is not really an option, it's fullness. Okay, it's one without a second. So if there is nothing but you and you alone, the self, so there is no option here but to own up my fullness, my oneness, whatsoever my non-dual nature. But the jiva has many options. And we have the option even to say, oh, I'm sorry, thank you, I will pass. The role of karma, past actions, in determining the conditions of our present life was explained in the commentary of the verse 2. But our understanding of karma must be complete, or we are liable to become passive and fatalistic, believing ourselves powerless to affect the direction of our life. So we're going to go back to dig a little bit deeper into karma to understand that there is such thing as free will. And karma is not something written on the stone, as we say, okay? Meaning to say, so if I have a karma conditioning my life, my life circumstance and so on, I do not need to be paralyzed and victimize myself and fall into this fatalistic kind of behavior to think, oh, poor me, why me, and there is nothing I can do, I feel so weak, I don't have any power to change the status quo or my setup, or there's nothing I can do here, and moreover, it's all karma. We hear those things very often, and Swami Shimayananda used to hammer on that point, because he used to say, so the Indians and this nation called India needs people who understand the power of their free will, so that they can come out of this poverty, this misery, this apathy, this indolence, this procrastination, and become a better person and build up a better nation, with not only spiritually. He used to attack also the spiritual people, because he used to say that most of those swamis, they were not really swamis, they were just spiritual beggars, and mean, the little experience I have of going to Tiruvannamalai, it gives me a little bit of that understanding as well, you know. And I have been talking to people, and a small fraction of those swamis living on the street, very small fraction, I heard from Ramji, maybe 5%, small fraction, start the scriptures and do meditation, very, very small. The rest are just tamasic people that somehow, due to some social condition, they found themselves in that situation. So we have a certain power, and this power is the power to choose the way we act, to choose the way we respond to our karma. So the jiva, there are two aspects to the jiva. We have two kind of personalities as a jiva, so to speak. When we act, we say that the jiva is a karta. Karta is a doer of action. And when we receive our prarabdha karma, when life gives us our karma back, you know, and then we are no longer karta. Why? Because we cannot push the karma back and say, hey, Ishvara, no, I don't want this karma. No? Because the karma has gone into the field, and then it has just goes through the whole process until it fructifies. And when it comes, and it's a huge, very complex equation. We have no means to understand the karma equation of Ishvara. It's very, very complex, you know, very intelligent. So when we receive our karma, we are the bhokta. The bhokta is the receiver, the receptor. So as receiving the karma, I have a certain personality. And as responding, I have another personality called the karta. So I am the doer of actions, and I'm the receiver of the results of my actions. The doer of action and receiver of my karma, right? So where does my power or free will lies? So of course, it does not lie in the receiver side of my personality, huh? Because when I'm receiving my karma, I have nothing else to do in respect to the karma itself, huh? But I can do something. So what can I do? Huh? I can strengthen, yeah? I can empower myself, I can change my mindset so that when I receive the karma, I receive with elegance, I receive with gratitude. I don't receive crying and complaining and whining and kicking and screaming and victimizing and so on. So my personality as a bhakta receiver needs to be refined so that when I receive intelligently with a proper attitude of gratitude, looking into this reception to understand. So what I can learn here and how can I correct my thinking process, you know, my thinking pattern, my actions, and so on, my attitudes. No? So there is something that I need to learn. So the people who have a very weak personality as a bhakta, so when they're about to receive adverse results, what they do? They go mad. They get angry. They lose their discrimination. They start just going like, I did not want this, you know. So the personality of the bhakta, you know, if it's weak, you know, it's going to be so badly affected. And what it happens when the bhakta receives and he has a weak personality, when he receives this karma, and then what had happened? His mind is so deeply affected that this mental disturbance of the bhakta leaks over to the karta, and as a result, the karta acts out badly as well. Okay? So the karta was affected by the bhakta aspect of my person, the receiver. I received, I did not know how to receive. It somehow was overflow to the karta, and then when I respond from the standpoint of a disturbed mind, a mind that was affected because I got something that I did not like, and I'm so attached to my likes that whenever life is not really in harmony to that, I lose my temper, I lose my discrimination, right? So there are two sides for karma. There is the receiver side. In the receiving side, there's nothing we can do but to make our receiving personality stronger, okay? Because I cannot send the karma back to the field or to the system or to Ishvara. I can only strengthen myself. But when I'm to respond to the stimulus coming from the field, so as I receive that, and then I need to respond back as I'm going to respond, between the stimulus and the response, there is a gap, there is a space, there is a window. In this window of time is where I can exercise my free will. So our free will is there as a karta, okay, between the receiving and responding. I am a karta, the doer of action, the one who is going to respond. And there lies my free will, my power of responding, of discriminating, determining, and responding appropriately. And an appropriate response is, of course, a dharmic response, sattvic response, a response that is going to be conducive to my spiritual refinement, purification, growth, elevation, and so on. So in the verse 3, the role of free will is introduced. The circumstance of our birth may be predetermined, some say. But our response, why the circumstance of our birth are predetermined? Not predetermined by my karma, or we can say, no, the karma of the guy behind me, before me, you know? So as we come here, we all get our vasana load. Where we get this vasana load from? We can only understand life from the standpoint of the jiva if we bring reincarnation into the equation. Otherwise, there's no way we can understand. Not that we need to go crazy to try to understand who I was and what I was doing in my past life, but to give us the whole picture that I come here with a certain vasana load. There's no way to complain. You know, in either way, I can see, oh, I got a lot of bad karma because I deserve it. Or I can say, I got a bad karma because it's the results of my soul's, previous birth actions. So I can say that way as the journey of the soul. Or I can say, no, I got this vasana load because I deserve it. And now what? I have the privilege of having a healthy human body. And I have to just do my work and start cleaning up the mess. And we need to keep working. So the free will was introduced in the verse 3. The circumstance of our birth may be predetermined by my previous karma, but our response, what we're going to do with it, how I'm going to respond to this karma, are to some extent under my power, my influence. Okay, so it's not that we have the power to create reality from, a moment to moment. So there are a lot of people who get caught up with the idea we have the power to create reality. We can just make and manifest what we want and so on. No, it's not like that. Karma is a very complex subject. Okay, so it works on different levels. So you can be working on your personal karma level, but then on a kind of level of more wide level, like the karma of a country, let's say the karma of a country, United States of America, it has been living in prosperity for so long. Yeah? But at the same time, it's building up a lot of hate. I mean, a lot of people from other nations are developing more and more hate against the United States. Why? Because it's the number one nation, and ignorance pervades all nations. Everybody who is the power, before it was the English empire, you know, everybody who is in power oppressed the other because I want what I want. It's, you know, I have the power, I take what I need. So, and then you build a lot of resentment in other place. And you are living your life comfortably, but then somebody may take revenge against your country. But if somebody takes revenge against your country, it affects you on your personal level. And there goes your good karma, because, you know, now your nation, for example, may go into war, you know. So you never know. There are different layers and layers and layers of karma. Yeah? But generally speaking, we have the power to respond to the stimulus coming from the field on a moment-to-moment basis, and to the degree that I respond intelligently, yeah, dharmically, you know, and appropriately and timely and so on, I'm building good results. I'm building punya karma on every possible level, material level, physical level, mental level, emotional level, and spiritual level. I'm doing that. I don't need to know when things are going to fructify in such a way that I'm going to have this and that and so on. No. But I know that I am growing. A spiritual person is a person who acts from that platform and knows, yes, I keep growing. My understanding is growing. My personality is more and more strong, powerful, in the sense that I can even receive some cries and some adversities, you know, some difficult situations, and still, you know, I don't lose my mind. I don't get fat, you know. And so we know that by doing our spiritual work, we are building our beautiful spiritual punya karma. And we don't know exactly how it's going to fructify, when my so-called final understanding, called direct self-knowledge, yeah? But that does not matter. We need to keep doing that which provides us with spiritual elevation again and again, day after day. That's the only way around here, because we are not suicidals. I mean, this verse is about the people who commit suicide. So this verse is addressed to individuals whose karma has afforded them a great opportunity for self-knowledge and moksha, liberation, freedom from ignorance. And this verse still admits the possibility that such an opportunity may be wasted. So how can it be wasted? You know, it can be wasted by somehow some weakness. Yeah? Some weakness survived in our personality, and still we say, you know, no, I mean, it's getting too risky, this business of spirituality right now. I have already put so much my investment in this, and now, you know, I'm a middle-aged person and so on, and I better secure and you know, my future, and I just hold on to my attachments here. That gives me somehow a sense of tranquility and security. So it's easy. It's possible. It's an option that the jiva has, because the jiva has free will, and he may say, no, I'm going to pass this lifetime and I live to the next one. So this verse is addressed to this individual that that may pass. It also suggests that karma does not cancel our free will. We can always choose, regardless of the momentum of our karma. So this note is, I wrote this note so that we can look into karma into free will from the angle that even someone loaded with papa karma, okay? So even someone who is really soaked in papa karma still has the power to turn things around, has the power to start responding from a different platform. He has the power to say, I want to change the direction of my life. No? I don't want to repeat the same pattern, the same mistakes over and over and over again and again and again. I want to change my negative program or conditioning, and I want to become a freer person emotionally, psychologically at least, you know. This is growth. Those are the stages of human growth. So it suggests that karma does not cancel our free will, regardless of how difficult karma may be. We still have the power to implement good change in our lives, in our personality, in our character, and in our personality. The acquisition of the knowledge that will free us from samsara, free us from ignorance, you know, free us from suffering. The acquisition of the knowledge that will definitely free us from ignorance does not require action. This is a nice statement here. It does not require action, but it does require a great deal of courage. What courage is that? It's the courage to detach our minds from worldly objects. The courage to detach our minds from any and everything that we attach to. For different reasons, we get attached to objects. No? So it reminds me again of Shimayananda. He used to say that spiritual life is nothing but detach, attach, detach, attach. He used to say, so detach your mind from the worldly objects and attach your mind to Bhagwan, to Ishvara, to God. No? So detach from the world of objects that you got really attached to, you know, and attach it to the self, attach it to your own fundamental nature as the self. Of course, we cannot attach our minds to the self because the self is not an object of attachment. We cannot attach our minds to the self. The self cannot be objectified. We need to attach our mind to a symbol of the self. So we are good symbols of the self, but unfortunately, the large majority of 7+ billion people in the planet is the self, but the self totally governed or operated by total ignorance of one's real nature. So it does not help much to be the self. Therefore, we need something that helps us, you know, that can anchor us and pull us from this muddy, you know, ocean of samsara, of ignorance, of suffering. You know? So how we do that? We need something. We need a good thing that could represent the self. And the best symbol of the self are the scriptures on self-knowledge. The scriptures, so when you say detach your mind from the objects, the worldly object, and attach to the self. So we need a symbol of the self, and there is no better symbol of the self than the scriptures on self-knowledge. Why? Because the scriptures on self-knowledge, they were revealed by consciousness by the means of an agent called Ishvara, the Lord. It comes directly, it's a revealed knowledge, it comes direct from the self. Okay? So the scripture is the best symbol of the self because it comes direct from the self, and if that was not enough, it's a great symbol because it has the power to reveal the nature of the jiva as the self. we have the best possible symbol of the self. So we need to detach from all the worldly objects to which we got entangled and attached. And we need to attach our minds to the self. No? And of course, it requires great courage to detach from the objects that gives us a certain sense of comfort and security and satisfaction, even if it's always a bittersweet taste. There's not really a total sense of satisfaction and security. I mean, the few of us, we are more mature people, we know. That's why we keep this association with the Vedanta body of knowledge, because we know that the world cannot really provide us with this satisfaction, this peace, this security that we are really working for, that we aiming for. So it takes more than just to have some few things and circumstances to feel satisfied and secure. So, without letting go of our attachment to objects, we will not be able to give our full attention to our spiritual work. Why? So, without letting go of our attachment to objects, we will not be able to give our full attention to our spiritual work. Because as long as we are too attached to our worldly objects, we don't find enough energy. I mean, to be attached to objects, it's not that simple, because it consumes our energy. It consumes to gain, to achieve, to accomplish. But once you have somebody who has a lot of things, the more we have, the more we have to work to keep it, to maintain it, to sustain it, That's why one of the keys is to begin detaching and simplifying one's life, because the more I have, the more I have to work to keep it. So in Italy, we have a saying, so you want to have a bicycle, now you have to keep pedaling it, there's no other way. So we need to begin letting go of those attachments. And how can we let go of attachments if they are so deeply ingrained in our mind that I need it? Oh, I want it, I need it. I need some people that they keep things, that they don't need at all. But they keep it. And once they gain something, they never give it away. Some people that they have so much properties in this and that, they are very good into gaining and accumulating. But then somebody says, so you have already 18 properties here and this and that. Let's sell that apartment there, because it's not really worth it at all. We don't give away anything, we keep it. But the problem of keeping is that it requires keeping, maintenance, working. So we need to begin to letting go of these attachments, and we can only let go of these attachments to the degree that we understand that we are not getting the comfort and security that we are really aiming for by association with these objects, that it's not just an association, it becomes an attachment to these objects that seemingly provides me with a sense of security. So it requires great courage, no question about that. It takes courage to disconnect because of the sense of security we seemingly gain from attachment to these objects. We have to be willing to endure the loss of worldly acquisitions. We have to be willing to endure. We need to really develop this mental emotional strength to let go of these attachments. Again, how I'm going to let go of these attachments, how I'm going to develop this strength? Only by the means of knowledge. We cannot force detachment. We cannot force this passion. It's a byproduct of understanding. It's a gradual process of inquiring, following the logic, understanding, and then those attachments, they begin loosening up. We have to be willing to endure the loss of worldly acquisitions and its fleeting satisfaction in order to pursue the true happiness which comes from knowledge. It comes from self-inquiry and self-knowledge. That is the source of true happiness. And why? Because once I'm really clear about my true nature, once I'm really clear about the fact that I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, but I am consciousness, and a consciousness that shines in every creature, in every jiva, in every living being. And then I'm no longer attached to the most attachable object there is, which is my own physical body, my own physical body. You know? I'm no longer attached to that. I understood that once I lose this body, I have, only on this planet, I have 7+ billion of other bodies that I will be shining and illuminating through them, you know. So spiritual suicidal is to find oneself at this crossing, yeah? In spite of my good karma, in spite of my good qualifications, in spite of this good momentum I have going for me, I choose my attachment to objects rather than self-knowledge and freedom. In that case, I wasted the momentum of my good karma. So momentum of the good karma is a good concept, because when we do a lot of spiritual work, we build momentum. We'll build this punya that starts, you know, getting more and more substantial, you know, massive. And we have this momentum work for us. We get more and more certainty, courage, and inspiration. Okay, and then we begin being consistent, dedicated, you know, and so on. So there is a good momentum, and we should never waste good karmic momentum, because we never know. Okay, life can hit us with cries from different angles. Okay, and we need to be strong to handle cries. So we better stay very focused and very disciplined, and we don't waste our moment. We keep our goal, our aim. My aim is my spiritual growth, spiritual evolution, and I want to keep doing my work day by day, even if it's a tiny bit, you know. I want to really keep growing, keep evolving, keep growing this certainty regarding my nature, certainty regarding my purpose in life. So this has to grow. We have to keep it in mind. We don't want to waste any good karmic momentum. Furthermore, we have to be willing to refrain from actions that we know will weaken our commitment to self-knowledge. So furthermore, we need to be willing to refrain from actions. So we talk about self-discipline here. We need to be able to refrain from actions that are going to pull us down rather than elevate us, you know. Self-limiting, self-insulting actions from the standpoint of the jiva, self-ignorance that feels like I need this, I want that, and this, and, you know, that little creature that is always whining, crying, complaining, and needy. So when we act from that standpoint, we are doing actions that are going to bring us down, are going to weaken our commitment to self-knowledge, are going to betray our commitment to self-knowledge. We need to have a discipline of self control, to refrain. So even if it comes in my mind, but before I begin crying, complaining, or whining, or anything, or doing anything that is not conducive to my growth, I need to filter those impulses and refrain myself from that. It's easier to accept those purposes that conventional life propose. Which purpose? We talk about security, fame, prestige, wealth, pleasures, and so on, social status. So it's easier to accept those worldly goals, those worldly purposes. It's much easier. Why? Because everybody is moving that direction. Everybody's pursuing those kind of goals in life. And we don't like to feel lonely. Huh? We like to move with a cozy crowd, that everybody's going this direction. So I don't want to be walking on the opposite direction, feeling lonely. Huh? So it's very easy to accept those samsaric purposes that conventional life propose us. And we have to remember that 99.99 people in the world, they are all fully, totally operated by ignorance. So we have to keep it in mind. So we should not really take into account that, but people do like these people. Every time we think like that, we say, we have to remember that they are totally governed by self-ignorance. They don't understand what's going on. They don't even understand Dharma in most cases. Understand? But it's very easy to follow the crowd. Where is the child in our culture who is encouraged to free himself from ignorance so that he might know his true nature as a living being, working for freedom, working for the realization of one's limitless nature as contentment and joy and fullness and security? Very rare is the child in our culture who is encouraged to free himself from ignorance. Even in India, the sad side is that I hear from Swami Paramarthananda that even in India, it's the the Vedic culture is declined. The families nowadays, when a child with a huge spiritual vasana feels this call to become a sannyasi, the family goes like, oh no, sannyasi, no. So I mean, what the others are going to think? I have a stupid child now that wants to become a sannyasi. But thousands of years back, they were just highly respected. Families would be happy to provide a child or two, send them to the Gurukulans so that they could learn this beautiful Vedic knowledge so that it could be preserved and passed on to the future generations. But now materialism has been taking over. No wonder the planet is in such a condition of devastation. Ignorance is really widespread. So it's where was you? It's very rare to have a child who is educated within this knowledge, self-knowledge. So there is something as freedom, as true happiness. So and it can be gained by the means of knowledge. And this knowledge is a very unique kind of knowledge. It's the knowledge about your true, fundamental, essential, free nature. And go and work, do anything in the world, but never lose sight of your ultimate goal, which is the realization of this self-knowledge. So we don't see those encouragements, those values being preserved, not even much in the Indian culture. An individual can try to achieve happiness by fulfilling his desires, and which is the path most of us follow. Or an individual can try to free himself from those desires, which is the path of discipline. We are talking about two paths, the path of indulging into gaining objects of desires. Try to satisfy, fulfill my desires. So because the more desires I fulfill, the more happiness I feel. I think it was Shimayananda Dayananda, maybe Dayananda, I don't know, maybe some of you may know, that he came up with an equation about to measure happiness. And happiness is measured by the number of the number of desires you have on the denominator, and the number of desires that you fulfilled in the denominator and nominator. Huh? Yeah. Huh?
It's the numerator.
Huh?
Numerator.
Numerator and denominator. Yeah.
The numerator.
Yeah. Okay. So, for example, if you have 100 desires, and if you have achieved 10 of your desires, you say, "Wow, I have 10% happiness. So I got 10 of my desires, so I have only 90 left." So, and then we say, "Hey, so I have to work a little harder, in the next 5-10 years, and then I'm going to, accomplish all these desires, and I'm going to have the fullness of satisfaction, which is 100% satisfaction, 100% desires accomplished." But then the sad side of the story is that by the time the person got 100 of those desires accomplished, he realized that there was 1,000 more desires being built on the way. As he was accomplished, he was building more desires without even noticing. So I mean to say, he was even in a worse situation. Now he got 100. Now he was back to 10%. He was very lucky, because to get 10% is very difficult in life, So fulfilling his desires, which is the path of most of us follow, or he can try to free himself from those desires, which is the path of discipline. How am I going to free myself from desire, and what for? Unless I understand that desire is not the solution, but desire may be the problem. So a lot of yogis, a lot of people who works on austerities and so on, they somehow identify that desire is not the solution. And then they say, we have to destroy desire, we have to kill desire, we have to remove desire. So they become very much disciplined in fighting desire. Vedanta teaches that there is really no difference in the aim of these two approaches. Either you try to fulfill your desires, or you try to free oneself from desire. There is no difference. If you fulfill desire, or if you try to destroy your desire, because in any case, every time you fulfill your desire, so you have removed the desire. When we fulfill a desire, we are, if only briefly, we are freeing ourselves from the desire. We are removing the desire. So every time I fulfill one of my desires, so I'm a little bit freer. So that person that fulfilled 10 desires out of 100, he was 10% free. Okay? So he has freed himself from those desires, removed those desires. So this is Vedanta approach. Vedanta teaches that there is really no difference in aiming of these two approaches. When we fulfill a desire, we are, if only briefly, freeing ourselves from that desire. And it is the desire that makes us unhappy. So that is the key here. This is not new for us. We are all experts on Vedanta. So desire is the problem. The problem now is how to get rid of desire. So the world say, go and get it. You know, you can do it. Go and get it. Accomplish all your desires. But we are smart enough to understand that that is not a proper suggestion, because there's no way we can fulfill our desires. Desires are difficult to be fulfilled, especially if we want things that have a lot of value as a common sense value, you know. There is a competition, there is scarcity, and so on. So Vedanta says a desire in itself is what makes us unhappy, no? Freedom from desire is this freedom from desire that makes us happy. So how to remove the desire? So we cannot go about trying to fulfill, accomplish every object of desire. We can become a yogi and try to remove the world of objects from my mind. So I want to go become a yogi, and then I'm going to live controlling my mind until I develop a vasana for samadhi. And then in samadhi, I remove the field of object. There is only emptiness, nothingness. There is no objects bothering me anymore. Okay? So when there is no object, there is no desire, there is no aversion. If there is no desire, there is no aversion, there is no stress, there is no problem. My mind is resolved by samadhi. So the only problem with samadhi is that it's enough that an insect bites you and you are out of samadhi. Huh? And then again, you have to work again to induce your mind, self-induce your mind to go in samadhi. And a lot of the time it's not, most of the time I don't know, because I'm not a yogi. I'm not a samadhi yogi. But people say that people never have really control of when they are going to slip into samadhi, you know. So you can go out of samadhi like that. So what is the good of such a resolution of mind? So in order to free yourself from desire, you have to go into a self-induced sleep state, and then you don't have desire. But what is the downside about that? You are missing out on the world. You know, the world is there. Ishvara has created the world, created you to go and live and enjoy the world, and you are missing out because you said, no, the world is a problem. Vedanta comes and says that the world is not a problem. The problem is ignorance. It's not understanding the purpose of this world, the purpose of this field, the way we should act out here, interact with the field, so that we can grow, you know, purify, refine our minds and understand, you know, what is the game here. You know? So this is the approach of Vedanta, knowledge, understanding. We don't need to destroy the world. We don't need to destroy the mind, because the mind is the source of desires. So everyone, even the most abundant pleasure seeker, unconsciously is trying to free himself or herself from desire. Isn't it interesting? We never thought about that, huh? When we are not Vedantins, that everything I'm doing to try to get pleasure and satisfaction from any object of desire, what I'm trying to do is not really to have the pleasure coming from the acquisition of some object. I'm trying hard to remove the desire, and nobody's aware of that, because desire is the stressor. You understand? Desire is the stressor. The stressor is not the fact that I don't have what I want. The stressor is the fact that I want something that I don't have. So why to want something that I don't have to begin with, right? Why not to just want everything that I have and forget about what I don't have, unless somebody gives it to me or provides it to me somehow. So unconsciously, even the most abundant pleasure seeker is trying to remove desire, to free himself from desire. It looks like he's trying to gain and get everything he desires. He's trying to remove this element, this disturbing element called desire. And desire is either positive or negative. Desire to gain, desire to avoid. They are the two sides of the same energy, two aspects. It's the only way to be happy. It is to to deal with this desire by understanding it. Once we realize this, we are confronted with two possibilities. This is stronger. Once we understand the game here and how this seeming happiness that we get from acquisition of objects, how this happiness comes about, once we understand that it's not coming from my object of acquisition, but it's coming by the removal of desire, we understood that, and then we know all I need to do is to drop. All I need to do is to drop the desire. I don't need to go about trying to resolve this problem by accomplishing. I just drop it, because desire is the problem. Once we understood that, but we still go on chasing objects of desire, we continue to go on chasing objects of desire, we continue to fool ourselves. Okay? We can stop fooling ourselves, or we can continue to fool ourselves. Okay, it's the fact that happiness and joy and security and satisfaction is not inherently in any object of desire. It's a fact known to every Vedantine. But yet, it's very rare to find a Vedantine that does not chase objects of desire and aversion. And running to gain, running to avoid, it's very, very common. So if we can stop fooling ourselves, or we can continue to fool ourselves, those are the two possibilities once we understand the mechanics, of desire. And that's what the verse refers to as a spiritual suicide. So we understood it. But somehow we did not understood it very clearly and truly. This understanding is not always present. We're still fooled, deceived by those old thoughts and notions, impressions that, no, if this, if that, and then, only then, I'm going to get satisfaction. Somehow this knowledge not being really, truly, and fully and firmly understood, one continued being fooled by this desire. And that's what this verse refers as committing spiritual suicide. Okay? So spiritual suicide is more to the person who has this knowledge very, very clearly, but yet does not want to work to actualize this knowledge. That's a good way to put it. This knowledge is clear from the standpoint, intellectual standpoint, but it does not want to confront those hardwired, ignorant vasanas that compels one to still, act in disharmony, in disagreement, betraying this knowledge, So the one who has this knowledge clearly, but still does not really confront those spiritual, ignorant vasanas, those are the people referred in this verse as committing spiritual suicide. Okay, so we did not manage to finish the verse 3. So any complaints?
Yeah, hi, Linda. It's Vidya. Yeah, I was just thinking it's a slightly different approach from, say, the Gita, where they say that even the little bit of spiritual work saves you from great suffering.
Yeah.
And it seems to be more of a hardcore approach here.
Yeah, I know this third verse. That's why I asked anybody had a complaint, because this is a tough verse talking about spiritual suicide, and confront. It's a provocation to all of us, It's a provocation because it takes courage, it takes discipline, it takes effort, But we know that as Karma Yogas, in the Gita, the Lord Krishna says, even a small amount of Karma Yoga protects us from great suffering. Why? Because Karma Yoga is a knowledge that neutralizes ignorance. Understand? If you act out from that standpoint of knowledge, understand the knowledge of Ishvara, Jiva, and Jagat, and the relationship, and the laws and rules, and this relationship between Jiva and Ishvara is crucial, is essential for self-knowledge, If we develop that knowledge and the bhakti, the devotional attitude towards Ishvara as the field and so on, and then any little karma yoga we do in our day-to-day is going to produce good results. Why? Why that? What is the meaning of that video? It's because as a karma yoga, your focus is no longer the result of your actions, like I want to accomplish or get what I want. My goal is no longer the results of my action. My goal is the joy that I extract from the action, because I'm acting out with an attitude which is gratitude, offering, contribution, love, and so on. My joy is coming from the action, and this joy is produce punya karma, produce refinement of mind. Is a totally different approach. Karma yoga is not easy to be developed in the West mind, culture. But when we act out with that, from that knowledge standpoint and with that proper attitude, we are just getting gratification, spiritual gratification as the karta, as a doer. We know that the result is not in our hands. It's going to be what it's going to be. Karma is a very complex equation and so on. But I'm not concerned about that. I'm concerned with the action, because when I act as a karma yoga, any little action is giving me the result I want, because my result is no longer what the accomplishment, behind that action, because I want what I want. No, my accomplishment is spiritual growth, spiritual elevation as a karma yoga. And we never make a mistake. We never fail as a karma yoga. And that's the sense. Any more complaints?
Arlindo, it seems to me that it calls for a lot of alertness. And I was helped when you described the gap between the knower and the doer. That Bhokta and what did you say,
Karta.
And Bhokta. But I find it's hours can go by where I am not alert to that discrimination in the smallest.
Yeah. It becomes more and more natural. It gradually becomes spontaneous, because we cannot. I mean, we in the computers we have the button, or in the cell phone we can pause. We can pause things here in the computer or on the cell phone, but life we cannot press the pause button every time we have to discriminate before we respond.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the challenge. So we have sometimes we just have we do the best we can, knowing that we are not always going to act, to perfection. There's no perfection in life. We have to understand that. There is no 100% purity. There's no 100% wisdom and so on. Each and everything is mixed up. So, but the most important thing to understand that as this knowledge, the karma, dharma, and moksha knowledge, so the scriptures on karma, dharma, and moksha, as we integrate, we assimilate, we integrate this knowledge, more and more our actions spontaneously align with dharma, okay? You see, this we respond because life, in the way because we don't have a pause button with life, we need to have this knowledge developed in the causal body, because most of our actions, they come from the causal body. They are spontaneous, intuitive, spontaneous response. You know, they come like that. Yeah? So in the beginning, because we still have a lot of those tendencies in the causal body, which are tendencies to respond, you know, from ignorance-based vasanas. Okay, so if we have much of that, and then we need to be more alert, and we have to keep filtering these impulses coming from the causal body. But as we develop and cultivate more and more this knowledge, more and more self-knowledge induced vasanas in the causal body, and then this impulse to respond more spontaneously, more impulsively, and more naturally, they come from the platform of knowledge. Understand? That's why the wise person, the yoni, most of the time he's spontaneous, more spontaneous, because you know he does not need to be all the time vigilant or filtering everything or pressing, trying to press the pause button, you know. So that's a good question, Len. But it's like that. It's a gradual, you know, development of this knowledge, yeah, which is a byproduct of the value we develop for this knowledge. We need to develop the value first. This value, when we start seeing that the only peace, love, security, contentment, satisfaction, happiness comes from spiritual knowledge. Once we really have it clear, right? And then we start giving everything into it. But we have to have it very clear, and then it's very fast, our development. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to. We're going to have this video, and I'm going to send to with the invitation of the next. Or I may put it on the Facebook page as well. Maybe I'm going to start putting I was trying to avoid to put in the Facebook, not to get confused with the webinar in Carbondale. But we are already confused about that in any case. Okie dokie. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnatya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, everybody. We'll be in touch. And if you are willing, we meet again next Monday.
Thank you, Alinda.
Thank you, Alinda.
Bye-bye.
Good night.